The heavy oak doors of the courthouse creak wide, absorbing the afternoon light as a taut hush ripples through the filled room. A murmur of whispered speculation hangs in the dry air, blended with the acrid smell of polished wood, chilly metal from the judge's bench, and the unmistakable sting of nervous perspiration. Cameras swing, recording every jerk, every uncertain breath, every waver of doubt and defiance. And then, the courtroom goes completely still, as Kody Brown, the head of the notorious Sister Wives clan, walks through those doors. His characteristic authoritative air is subdued today, replaced with a wan facade of wariness and incredulity. His gaze roams the room, the horde of journalists, the blinding cameras, the close-knit group of familiar faces he used to call family, and he knows it will all change today. Somewhere on the other side of the room, Robyn Brown sits rigidly, her hands gripped tightly in her lap. The burden of what she's about to do weighs upon her like a tempest on the horizon, terrifying, inescapable. For years she has borne secrets, hidden deep beneath layers of smiles and stilted small talk. Today, those secrets tear their way to the top, driven by frustration, betrayal, and a need so insistent, it's become a hunger. Her voice shatters the silence as a thunderclap. "I can't be quiet any longer," she states, her voice shaking but firm. One tear slips down her face, meeting the hard courtroom light. Not when so much hangs in the balance, not when the deceptions have lasted too long. The room shifts, the air heavy with shock and expectation. The other wives, Christine, Mary, Janelle, look at one another, each struggling with her own churning emotion. Their faces are all masks of pain, incredulity, and seething rage, but just below the surface, the fault lines of splintered loyalty are starting to crack wide open. Christine's jaw tightens, eyes narrowing with a fire that hasn't dimmed despite years of silence. Mary's hands tremble slightly, the weight of years of heartbreak and sacrifice pressing down on her. Janelle stares straight ahead, her usually calm demeanor now edged with uncertainty, caught between love, loyalty, and the painful truths unraveling before her. The judge's gavel comes down sharply, a harsh reminder of how serious this is. "Miss Brown, go on," the judge says, voice steady but authoritative. Robyn takes a deep breath, her eyes fixed on Kody. It's a gaze that says it all, of hurt, betrayal, and a fierce determination to speak her truth. The air is charged with tension, each heartbeat magnified, each breath held in anticipation. As Robyn takes her words, the courtroom is turned into a stage for raw feelings and bombshell revelation. Years of hushed accusations, backroom confrontations, and tenuous peace are about to be destroyed by truths too agonizing to be ignored. She speaks of moments long forgotten, intimate conversations warped into public fight, vows broken as delicate glass, and the desperate silence of a woman brought to the brink. Her words linger on the air, bouncing off the chill walls, drawing pictures of love that has been betrayed and of trust that is destroyed. Kody's face constricts with each sentence, a tempest gathering behind his eyes, a fusion of remorse, wrath, and an intense desire to shape the story. The court observes as the erstwhile immovable patriarch starts to fray under the burden of his own secrets. Suddenly evidence is revealed, a hidden audio tape that stands to upend everything the family has thought for decades. The room turns icy. The voices on the tape are irrepressible, showing deceit that cuts deeper than anyone had ever imagined. The other wives react instantly. Christine's lips press into a thin line, Mary's eyes glisten with unshed tears, and Janelle's fingers tighten into fists. The fragile alliances that held this family together begin to unravel in real time. Outside the courtroom, the buzzing media frenzy begins. Headlines already spinning wild rumors, alliances questioned, and futures cast into doubt. Within, the pressure is nearly palpable. Each look, each hushed phrase has the weight of a family on the edge, a family whose outward image is shattering, exposing broken hearts and broken allegiances beneath. This is not merely a courtroom showdown. It's a battle for truth, for justice, and for the broken shards of a family that once vowed forever. And as the trial progresses, one thing is certain, nothing will ever be the same again. The courtroom hums with a restless tension no one can quite shake. The air is thick, stale with a mixture of anxiety, frayed nerves, and the slight metallic tang of the judge's gavel lying on the smooth oak desk. Fluorescent lights whine overhead, illuminating the faces with a cold light, reporters holding notepads, cameras pointed at the plaintiffs and defendants, and a handful of people who still hold out onerous hope in the face of impending disaster. At the forefront of it all is Kody Brown, his back straight but shoulders sagging. Gone is the usual charismatic grin, replaced by pinched lips and darting eyes. This is not the man who stood tall before the camera and his family, demanding attention with unshakable confidence. Today the mask is cracking. To his right, the other wives sit: Christine, Janelle, Mary, and then Robyn, the youngest and newest wife, whose choice to come forward has set this whole courtroom drama ablaze. Their expressions are a hall of raw, conflicted feelings: defiance, sorrow, guilt, and suspicion. Each wife experiencing the drama unfolding before her in her own manner. The judge, a severe woman with piercing eyes that see everything, calls the room to order. "This court will come to order," she says, her voice slicing through the tension like a cutting blade. "We are here today to hear the case filed on the dissolution of the Brown family's legal and financial connection, plus allegations of breach of trust and emotional distress." The charge alone sends a ripple through the courtroom. What started as a private family dispute, whispered about in tabloids and reality TV gossip, has now become a public legal battle laid bare for all to witness. Kody's lawyer, a poised, clever woman by the name of Diane, rises from her seat, smoothing her blazer. "Your Honor, we plan to show that the allegations brought against Mr. Brown are not just unsubstantiated, but are motivated by ulterior factors and personal vendettas." She speaks in measured but assertive tones, foretelling the battle to come. From the gallery, a murmur of assent from some, incredulous gasps from others. The courtroom is tense enough to explode. Then Robyn stands. Her movements are slow but unsteady. The woman who once exuded warmth and quiet strength now bears a vulnerability that is almost tangible. Her hands shake slightly as she makes her way to the stand, her voice cracking the instant she speaks. "I'm here," she says, "because I can no longer pretend everything is fine. Because the family everyone gets to see on TV is nothing but a shadow, a masterfully constructed illusion." Her words strike with the force of a hammer. The courtroom gasps. She remembers times of loneliness, vows broken by the burden of silence, and sleepless nights weeping alone in a bedroom once sacred. She speaks of them in a soft but getting harder voice. "There were lies," Robyn admits. "Eyes meeting Kody's, lies that I had to live with, lies that I helped create, even when I didn't want to." Her confession is a shockwave. Cameras click, Kody's face spasms, a combination of rage and shock crossing his face. Christine's lips sneer in a bitter smile, and Janelle leans forward, her eyes glinting with a combination of fascination and hurt. Mary, who is normally reserved, looks down at her hands, the burden of her own secrets weighing heavily. Then again, the courtroom doors creak, as Diane emerges with a small, innocuous device, a recorder. This Diane holds up for everyone to see, has sound evidence that we think will reveal the true dynamics of the Brown family's internal conflicts. There is a hush, the judge gestures, and the recording is played. The sound fills the room with low hiss of tape. The voices, raw, tense, desperate, resound from the speakers. The sentences are broken but incriminating: accusations, confrontations, threats. The sound of Kody's voice is unmistakable, as is that of the wives, each sentence peeling away a thread of the tightly woven veneer. Robyn's eyes brim with tears as the tape plays, her anguish exposed to all. Christine's jaw tenses, and Mary's breath hitches aloud. Janelle's hands grip the bench in front of her tightly. After the tape finishes, there is complete silence. The judge's eyes scan the room. This court will consider this evidence carefully. We will now hear witness depositions. As the first witness is called, the tension builds. Every discovery layers upon the last, until it seems as if the walls will burst from the pressure of betrayal and truth. Outside, news vans roam like vultures, already spinning tales of broken bonds and betrayal in the headlines. Inside, the Brown family stands on the brink, the tempest gathering to break. And deep inside, there is a question that remains, murmured under each word, each look. Who will live when the truth is finally revealed? The courtroom is shaken by the unexpected ruckus. Heads whip around as a figure stands up from the back pews, holding an envelope firmly in shaking fingers. The bailiff bellows, attempting to regain order, but the mood in the room has changed. Unstable, volatile, Charge. Judge Hamilton's gavel comes down with a commanding thwack. Order in the court. Who is this? The woman moves forward reluctantly. It's Robyn's sister Sarah, a reserved but forceful figure who has never ventured into the limelight. She is pale, eyes blazing but cautious. I apologize, Your Honor. Sarah starts, her voice wavering slightly. I have something significant. It's a letter and papers that could turn everything around in this case. A silence descends as Diane, Kody's lawyer, comes over and accepts the envelope. The judge allows it to be opened. The documents within contain financial statements, text message, transcripts, and a handwritten letter, proof that no one in the courtroom anticipated. The documents tell a chilling story: unauthorized transfers, clandestine accounts, and covert communications between Kody and a mysterious third party. The letter, signed but unsigned in a sense, mentions manipulation, coercion, and fear. Kody's face goes white. Sweat drips from his brow. His fists tighten around the arms of his chair. As the truth seeps in, his carefully guarded empire is beginning to crack apart. Robyn sits in silence, a spark of vindication in her eyes, but deeper still, hurt. It's not just about tearing down Kody, it's about dismantling the family she once adored. The judge orders a recess, but the harm is already complete. On the steps outside the courtroom, cameras flash wildly as reporters hurry to pick up each muffled detail. Within, the wives sit quietly in the hallway. Christine's gaze is piercing, calculating. I knew there was more to it, she whispers. But this is worse than I thought. Janelle nods, though her normally steady voice breaks. How could he keep all this from us? From the family? Mary's face contorts with subdued grief. We lived in a lie, she says softly. All of us. Robyn's face sets in a hard line. It's time we stop being the victims. In the courtroom, the list of witnesses is read. One by one, those associated with the Browns are called to the stand. Former co-workers, friends, and family members who are set to untangle the web of deceit. One of the witnesses, an ex-personal assistant to Kody, discloses intimate conversations where Kody confesses to unilateral decisions made in secret from his wives, decisions that impacted their pocketbooks, their houses, even their futures. She trembles as she recounts the burden of deception to cover for a man whom she once revered. Then, a close friend of Christine's takes the stand to describe the cracks in Christine's marriage, moments of Christine's angry resentment and loneliness beneath her outward bravado. The courtroom listens as peels back the layers, uncovering the chasms between appearance and reality. Mary is called to the stand at one point. The uptight wife steps forward, head hung low but voice firm. She recounts her increasing uncertainty, the night vigils questioning her position within the family, and the toll on her emotions from years of uncertainty. Her account is a poignant one, revealing fissures in the family unit even the cameras were not able to capture. The tension between Kody and his wives is tense, lying just beneath every interaction. His eye lingers on Robyn beyond what is required, a blend of accusation and remorse. But then the pivot, the bombshell witness no one saw coming. Robyn, once again called to the witness stand, sucks in a breath. She stares straight at Kody, her voice firm but trembling with emotion. There's more, she announces. Something you all need to know. She produces from her purse a folder heavy with papers, messages, recordings, photos that show Kody's ongoing efforts to quash opposition within the family. Deceptions masquerading as threats, manipulations masquerading as love, and contrived lies meant to maintain control. The courtroom gasps in shock. Christine's eyes slim into slits. Mary's hands shake. Janelle clamps her mouth into silent rage. Kody's face goes pale. For the first time, the patriarch appears weak. I was scared. Robyn goes on, voice cracking. Scared that if I spoke out, it would ruin what little family we had left. But silence is no longer an option. The judge calls a short recess amid the rising storm. Outside, the media frenzy intensifies. Headlines scream betrayal, manipulation, and a family unraveling in real time. In the quiet moments between courtroom sessions, the wives meet privately in a small conference room. The atmosphere is heavy, layered with pain, anger, and tentative solidarity. Christine breaks the silence first. We've all been played, she says bitterly, used by Kody's need for control. Janelle slowly nods. But now it's our turn to reclaim power for ourselves, for our children. Mary brushes away a tear. It's not about the past anymore. It's about what comes next. Robyn scans the room, the burden of leadership crushing her. We have to be together if we are going to make it through this. The women look at each other, their shattered relationships beginning to heal in the melting pot of mutual suffering and determination. In court, the hearing continues with an unexpected turn. Kody's defense produces a new witness, a hitherto unknown friend, who tries to impeach Robyn's testimony, labeling her as unstable and motivated by personal agendas. The courtroom is filled with whispers and gasps. Robyn is pushed to her limits as never before. Then a jarring interruption. One of the wives' attorneys introduces new evidence, a confidential videotape, contradicting the defense witness's testimony, disclosing the reality behind their allegation. The tension is at a boiling point. The brittle equilibrium of the trial tips once more. The courtroom descends into an awkward silence as the grainy film glows to life on the big screen. The soft whine of the projector hums through the room, broken only by the sharp inhalation of breath from the people present. Eyes wide, faces set, watching the scene in front of them play out. A secret encounter, softly spoken words, stolen glances. The face on the computer is unmistakable. Kody Brown, the father figure, speaking softly with a person whose face is still not visible in the shadows. The discussion is veiled but heavy. Allusions to cash, manipulation, and keeping the family in line. Robyn's heart thunders in her chest as she watches, a conflict of vindication and heartache churning within her. This was no longer about promises broken. This was about control, secrecy, and a betrayal she had never imagined. Christine's eyes flash with anger. "He's been stringing us all along," she says under her breath. Mary's lips are shaking, Janelle's fists gripping tightly on the armrests of her chair. The judge's gavel restores order to the courtroom. "This evidence shall be placed in the record," she states gravely. "Mr. Brown, you will be given a chance to respond." Kody stands, his accustomed aplomb, dented but not broken. His tone is firm but reedy. "This video is out of context. I was attempting to guard my family." The courtroom murmurs, some incredulous, some empathetic. But the seed of suspicion has been sown. For the first time, cracks emerge not only in Kody's public persona, but within the very structure of the family he created. The next few days are a blur of testimony, lies, and emotional collapse. Witness upon witness gets on the stand, each one peeling back additional layers of dishonesty. Current and former employees tell of hushed threats, secret agendas, and attempts to silence critics. Friends of the wives outline the isolation and loneliness each woman suffered, trapped in the darkness of a family empire governed by terror and secrecy. Mary's testimony cuts deep, her voice soft but resolute, as she recounts years of emotional neglect and unspoken pain. "I felt invisible," she says, "like a ghost in my own life." Christine is unrelenting. She describes moments of explosive anger and deep betrayal, her voice rising with each word. "He promised us forever, but he was making deals behind our backs." Janelle's own strength is expressed quietly, as she describes her efforts to keep the family together, weighing love and loyalty against increasing doubt. But in the midst of the chaos of the courtroom, a quiet, underlying struggle is occurring behind closed doors. The wives sit in a small dark room, photographs of their families on the walls, the atmosphere thick with shared sorrow and determination. Robyn takes center stage, the surprise leader, her voice firm as the tears brimming in her eyes. "We can't let Kody dictate the narrative anymore. You can't let Kody dictate the narrative anymore. We need to share our stories, our authentic stories." Christine jerks her head in agreement. "It's time the world sees what we've endured." Mary's a whisper, but no less forceful. "For the first time, I'm not afraid." Janelle puts a hand on Robyn's shoulder, a symbol of solidarity and hope. Working together, they start to put together a strategy to reclaim their voices and rewrite the narrative of their lives. In court, Kody's defense attorneys launch a fierce counterattack. They produce character witnesses who portray a committed husband and father, attempting to hold his complicated family together despite insurmountable obstacles. But the tide is shifting. A surprise witness testifies, a family friend for years, who presents a scathing critique of Kody's action. Her testimony is full of sadness and outrage, disclosing a pattern of manipulation and control that no one had ever dared to speak out about publicly before. The courtroom hangs on her words, transfixed and stunned. Kody's facade cracks. His eyes flash with a moment of remorse. But pride makes his voice unyielding. And then the surprise twist. An intimate exchange between Kody and one of his wives, secretly recorded and played in front of the court. In it, Kody begs for forgiveness, vows to change, but also warns of repercussions for those who cross him. The wives glance at each other. Threat obvious. Power dynamic revealed. Robyn's voice cracks as she mutters to herself, "We were never really equal." The judge pauses, his face sternly gazing at Kody. "This court will review all the evidence carefully. We will adjourn until tomorrow." Outside, the media hubbub erupts. The reporters mob the wives, hungry for sound bites. For the inside scoop on this family soap opera turned court fight. Christine's keen eyes confront the cameras defiantly. This is just the beginning. Mary, softly serene, interjects, "We're fighting for more than ourselves." Robyn smiles weakly, the responsibility of leadership weighing upon her. The truth is finally revealed. The courtroom is charged, the atmosphere heavy with tension and silent terrors. Daybreak has scarcely kissed the city beyond. But within the courthouse, the melodrama is already in full swing with redoubled ferocity. The judge's piercing gaze rakes the courtroom, attempting to keep firm rein on what feels more like a field of war than a court of law. Kody sits in the defense table, his countenance a blend of exhaustion and steely determination. His eyes betray the burden he bears, not only the weight of the trial but the fall of the family empire he constructed piece by piece. In front of him, the wives are seated collectively in the courtroom gallery, their countenance etched with fatigue and determination. Robyn's jaw is tight. Christine's eyes are fierce. Janelle appears unruffled, but wary, and Mary appears fragile beneath her untroubled surface. The day starts with the prosecution calling its next witness, an ex-financial advisor to the Browns. The man's evidence is set to untangle the intricate financial scheme Kody has orchestrated in secret. He talks slowly, carefully, detailing how funds were routed into private accounts, money that the wives were unaware of, and not granted access to. "From what I can ascertain," the advisor responds, "these transactions were intended to gain control of the finances and keep the wives in the dark." The courtroom gasps. Kody's lawyer gives the witness a hard stare, ready to shred his credibility. But harm is already done. Robyn shares a look with Christine. There is a flash of mutual agony, a silent recognition of the years they were held in the dark, manipulated as game pieces on a board. Following a brief break, the testimony turns to more intimate issues. The prosecution summons one of the Browns' grown-up children, and she testifies frankly about the dysfunctional family relationships. His voice shakes as he describes the tension around family gatherings, the hushed arguments behind closed doors, and the underlying fear many of them lived in. "I walked around on eggshells," he confesses, eyes scanning the room. Like any one incorrect word would spark a fire. His testimony is a graphic portrayal of a home governed not by love but by control, manipulation, and unwritten rules. Christine's lips pucker up, and Mary closes her eyes for a moment, taking the brunt of truth. The courtroom drama gets more intense when Robyn is again summoned on the stand. This time, she is asked to testify on the emotional toll of the family's secrets and Kody's controlling behavior. Her voice is firm but laced with grief. "I love this family," she whispers, "but I could not continue living in fear anymore. The burden of the lies, the loneliness, it was suffocating." She hesitates, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes but refusing to fall. "I want my kids to know the truth. I want my kids to grow up without the shadows I lived in." Her words remain suspended in the air, striking something raw and unspoken in all of them. Outside the courtroom, the wives retreat to a small conference room for a private meeting. The atmosphere is thick with tension, but also a fierce sense of resolve. Janelle breaks the silence first. "We have to be careful," she warns. "Kody's defense will try to turn us against each other." Christine scoffs. "They're already doing it. I've heard whispers, trying to paint Robyn as the villain." Mary nods seriously. "But we can't allow that. We must remain united." Robyn scans the faces she has grown to depend on, the women who have supported and pushed her in this complicated dance. "This is no longer just about us," she says. "It's about the future, for all of us." Back in court, the stress comes to a head when Kody is summoned to the stand to testify. His attitude is combative but controlled as he stands. He acknowledges errors, lapses in judgment and communication breakdowns, but firmly denies any intent to harm. His voice breaks a little as he talks about his love for his family and his wish to do them no harm. But when asked about the secret bank accounts and taped conversations, his responses turn evasive. His eyes flash with anger, and for the first time, a flash of vulnerability cracks through his stoic demeanor. The prosecution pins him hard. Smelling vulnerability. Mr. Brown, did you ever threaten any of your wives in order to keep them quiet? Kody pauses, swallowing convulsively. I would never do anything knowingly to hurt my family. But the harm is done. The courtroom is filled with doubt. Later that night, when the courthouse clears out and the city lights come on, the wives meet discreetly in an adjacent cafe. The pressure of the day bears down on them, but underlying the fatigue is a seething resolve. Christine stirs her coffee, dark eyes. He's breaking, she says. We need to keep pushing. Mary nods. For the first time, I think we may actually get justice. Robyn's eyes scan out the window, her thoughts whirling. The battle is a long way from over, and the price keeps escalating. The courthouse is still at rest, but within Robyn's mind is a tempest. The text message from the unknown number is seared into her pocket, an anonymous vow of the last piece of the puzzle, the secret that might destroy Kody's painstakingly built world. She gazes at the screen, pounding heart and racing mind. The message states, there's a ledger, hidden. It's all there, but exposing it will cost everything. Robyn understands what that implies. The ledger isn't simply numbers and transactions. It's a blueprint of deception, betrayal and control. But pursuing it would mean crossing boundaries she never intended to cross, risking relationships, reputations, even herself. Back in court, tensions are high. The prosecution summons a forensic accountant, a specialist who vows to unravel the complex web of finances involved around the Browns. The man testifies in an unruffled manner, his tone reminiscent of a scalpel slicing through veils of deception. He recounts suspicious transactions, transfers into offshore accounts, and payments that indicate a string of intentional cover-ups. The courtroom gasps as he indicates an entry marked only as Family Trust, a name that did not sound sinister but holds millions of dollars directed without the wives' knowledge. Robyn stands there, fists balled. This is the evidence she needed, the tangible proof of the manipulation that held sway over her life. Outside, the wives cluster together, faces set with anxiety and determination. Janelle's tone is low and intense. We need to prepare. Things are going to get worse before they get better. Christine nods, her eyes flashing. I'm ready for anything that comes along. Mary, reserved but resolute, speaks up. For our children's sake, we need to stick with this. Robyn bears the weight of their trust and price of her own choices bearing down on her. The day crawls along, the testimony unveiling new layers of deceit. Friends and former members step forward, each contributing fragments to the puzzle. A hushed conversation here, a clandestine meeting there. One witness describes a harrowing encounter in which Kody supposedly warned one of the wives that she would be cut off financially if she dared speak out. The courtroom is silent in shock. Kody's defense lawyer tries to impeach the witness, but it's too late. As the trial reaches the halfway point, stress between the wives starts to bubble up. Public humiliation and personal suffering are taking their toll on them. One night, late in a moment of weakness, Mary contacts Robyn. I don't know how much more of this I can do, she confesses softly. Sometimes I wonder if all this strife is worth it. Robyn grasps her hand, her tone firm. It's worth it. For the possibility of being free. Their connection deepens in that instant. A brittle but indispensable partnership against the background of anarchy. And just as hope revives, the tip from the unknown surfaces. Robyn arranges a secret meeting with the messenger, a former family insider who once worked closely with Kody. In a dimly lit cafe, the insider slides a worn manila envelope across the table. Inside, he says, voice low, you'll find the ledger. Every transaction, every hidden account. But be careful, they're watching. Robyn's hands tremble as she opens the envelope, the pages revealing the full extent of the deception. Her heart drops. The ledger not only verifies the financial infidelity, but suggests even more sinister secrets, ones that would ruin not only Kody, but the family's reputation. Back in court, Robyn brings in the ledger. The courtroom hums with tension. The judge studies the papers, her head moving slowly. This new evidence will be thoroughly vetted, she says. We will meet again tomorrow to decide on its admissibility. As the session ends, there are lingering glances at Robyn, the woman who would not remain silent, who is now the spark that ignites a reckoning none could have anticipated. The weight of the threat presses heavily on Robyn's shoulders as she sits alone in her dimly lit living room, the glow of her phone screen the only light in the room. The message was clear, cold and unmistakable. Stop digging or you'll regret it. Her hands shake, but her determination doesn't falter. This fight is no longer one of truth or justice. It's about survival now. Each move she makes toward revealing the ledger is like walking along a tightrope over an empty chasm. Meanwhile, within the courthouse itself, the air is charged with expectation. Preliminary review of the ledger has been granted by the judge, paving the way for incendiary disclosures. Both camps lay their plans, knowing the trial is quickly coming to a breaking point. Kody's defense lawyer, Diane, feels the pressure. She is aware that if the contents of the ledger are completely revealed, it will unravel all they've struggled to keep hidden. Refusing to give up, Diane insists on delays, technicalities, anything to stall the process. But the prosecution continues. Undeterred by the growing evidence, the wives still rely on one another. Midnight sessions and hushed tones become their lifelines. Trust is tenuous, yet their purpose and shared pain tie them together. Janelle expresses increasing worry at one meeting. We need to be careful. Kody's world isn't simply money or domination. There are individuals who will do anything to ensure secrets are kept. Christine's eyes flash with determination. Bring it on. We're not going anywhere. Mary, with less volume but with the same determination, chimes in. For our children, for us, we must be strong. In the courtroom again, the contents of the ledger come untangled in testimony. Forensic accountants present intricate financial trails. Money diverted, assets concealed, and manipulative trades meant to drain the wives financially and emotionally. The courtroom hears, aghast and transfixed. Each dollar of accounting is another blow to the defense of Kody. But the trial is more than just dollars. In a dramatic reversal, private messages pulled from the files of the ledger unveil intimate conversations between Kody and his inner circle. Text messages and emails that expose silencing attempts, manipulation of perceptions, and threats to even family members. Robyn's voice breaks as she reads out some of the messages in court. Words of control masquerading as care, threats hidden in love. Outside, the media storm rages. Headlines depict a family dynasty founded on deceit and intimidation. Defenders mobilize, critics taunt, and the wives are forced into a limelight they never wanted. Then the unthinkable occurs. One evening, as Robyn comes in from an evening meeting, she sees a shadow by her driveway. Her hackles are raised, her heart beats rapidly as she hurries. The threat now so close, once it had seemed far away. She phones Janelle, barely above a whisper. Someone's home. I don't feel safe. Janelle responds quickly. Get inside. I'm on the way. That evening, the wives meet at Robyn's house. Security tightened, nerves worn. We cannot let fear prevail. Robyn declares, eyes ablaze despite the wariness. But we must be intelligent. We must defend ourselves. Christine's piercing stare rakes the blackened windows. This battle just got more deadly. The trial continues with increased urgency. The judge, sensing the growing tension, increases security and warns everyone in stern terms. Kody's defense attempts to capitalize on the fear and tension, painting the wives as unstable and reckless. But the wives will not be cowed. Their testimony becomes more impassioned, their determination stronger than ever. At an emotional juncture, Mary returns to the stand, offering a moving testimony about the price of years spent in fear and domination, and hope the trial holds for healing and liberty. Her words touch all of us in the courtroom so deeply, piercing through the legalese and hard facts to expose the human price of the family's secrets. Courtroom is filled with a dense fog of expectation as the judge asks us all to focus on the newest bombshell evidence, an encrypted file pulled from the ledger, a digital safe of secrets Kody's defense team frantically attempted to conceal. A murmur sweeps through the audience. The prosecutor gestures to a cybersecurity expert, a reserved but fierce woman named Elena, who moves forward to expound on the significance. This document, Elena starts. Her voice even has multiple layers of encryption, intended to keep unauthorized persons out. Breaking it won't be simple, but if done can yield communication, financial documents, or other information that have been willfully hidden. The courtroom holds its breath as Elena connects her laptop, fingers dancing across the key. Minutes tick by in what seems like an eternity, all eyes on the screen. A beep, a document opens. The first peek into the hidden world behind Kody's empire is revealed. What the document has to say surprises everyone. Concealed emails, video footage, and messages tell a sinister tale of Kody's cunning attempts to manipulate not just his wives but friends, relatives, and even law enforcement as well. A grainy, disturbing video captures a closed-door conversation in which Kody lays down plans to keep one wife separate from the rest, maintaining control through separation. The emails reveal intimidation, bribes, and threats, all carefully chronicled. Robyn's eyes well with tears as she watches. The truth she fought so hard to reveal now undeniable. Christine clenches her fist, biting back a sob. Mary's face is pale, Janelle's jaw tight, but the revelations don't stop there. Among the files is correspondence with a mysterious figure known only by initials, someone who appears to have had deep involvement in the family's internal affairs. Whispers of financial sponsors, manipulated media stories, and secret motives ripple throughout the court. The defense scrambles to disprove the evidence, but the growing evidence is too much. The wives gather outside the courtroom in breathless haste. "We knew someone else was behind this," Christine tells them, her voice a low snarl. Janelle nods. "But who? And what do they want?" Robyn takes out her phone, scrolling through the emails once more. "This is bigger than Kody. Much bigger." Inside, the judge adjourns proceeding. "We will take time to authenticate these new materials," she says. But it is obvious this case has turned in a direction that none of us expected. The trial recesses for the day, but the tension is still thick. That evening, Robyn tosses and turns, tormented by the darkness thrown by these secrets. Her phone vibrates, an anonymous encrypted message. "Trust no one. The threat is nearer than you believe." Her breath hitches. The battle for truth has taken a darker turn, and the price of winning could be steeper than anybody could have guessed. Kody sits in solitary confinement meanwhile, weighed down by the specter of exposure. His previously solid world is falling apart, with it his hold on power. Even in defeat, though, a vengeful determination smolders in his eyes. As the trial is about to continue, a jaw-dropping revelation looms to turn things around again. A member of the family could have been secretly against the rest all this while. Who is the real traitor? And how far will they go to keep their secrets safe? The courtroom is electric with tension like no other. The trial, a storm of secrets, deception, and broken allegiances, hangs on the threshold of its final revelation. Every face in the room is pulled tight with hope and terror. The family, the lawyers, the newsmen, even the judge, who looks tired but firm. A fresh witness is brought into the courtroom, someone nobody saw coming, a longtime family friend who had remained quiet during the trial. Her name causes a stir through the courtroom. She rises with a firm expression, her voice tranquil but firm. "I've seen this family from the inside," she starts, "and I have something to reveal." Gasps are heard. She establishes herself as the real betrayer, one who had secretly labored to play games with the family dynamics for personal benefit, supplying false information to Kody's defense, fueling suspicion among the wives, and even coordinating with external parties to steer the narrative. Her evidence unmasks decades of deception that had distorted the family's ties beyond healing. The courtroom breaks out into shock and amazement. Kody goes white. The dawning realization that his hold on the family was not just failing him, but was sabotaged from the inside. Robyn's eyes burn with a combination of sadness and vindication. "We were fighting battles on all fronts," she says softly. "Not just against Kody, but against those who used us as pawns." Christine, Janelle, and Mary all struggle with their own sense of betrayal, but also a refreshed sense of clarity. The confusion fog starts to clear. The judge leans forward, listening intently, then addresses Kody. "Mr. Brown, in light of this new testimony, and the avalanche of evidence brought forth during this trial, what is your response?" Kody chokes back a swallow, his voice tight but sincere. "I was blinded by my own errors and my need to keep the family together. I never wanted to hurt anyone. But I realize now that what I did brought such intense suffering." Feelings overflow as the wives are given an opportunity to speak one last time. Robyn's voice is deep, with years of anguish and hope. "This trial was never about bringing down a man. It was about finding the truth so that we could heal." Christine nods, her tone fierce yet optimistic. "We've been shattered, but we are not done." Mary's gentle words are like balm. This is our opportunity to take back our lives. Janelle, steadfast and sensible, interjects, we can never be the family we used to imagine, but we can create something true and genuine. Outside the court building, the media hype still rages on, but something is different. The tale is no longer merely a scandal story. It's a story about survival, about bravery, and about the intricate nature of family ties pushed to their extreme. The wives come together, a united front, but fragile and stronger than before. Legal deals are made in the weeks that follow, settlements that acknowledge the betrayals and open up a way forward, though not without scars. The family starts the slow, agonizing work of rebuilding, each of them finding their own path toward peace. And Robyn, the quietest voice, emerges as a beacon of strength, a woman who had the courage to voice, confront the darkness, and struggle for the light. The courtroom doors slam shut behind them, but the reverberations of their tale linger, a reminder of the strength of the truth, the price of faithfulness, and the promise that even the deepest hurt can heal.